first international match that we played, so we knew we needed to find rhythm and find ourselves. It took us 20 minutes, 20 plus minutes, 30 minutes. Luckily, we kept them out only with 5 points and not conceding any points in the second half. And we converted those opportunities.
There's so many things that we need to work on. So I think the focus is to work on ourselves, to work on the things that we need to get better at, and hopefully it will come to us again.
Hosts Kenya silver medalists from the last edition played in Madagascar 2 years ago took on neighbours Uganda in the second clash of the day. Their bitter rivalry was on show as the side scored a converted try each in the fierce opening 10 minutes to be level at 7-all. Backed by a partisan home crowd, Kenya then pulled away to lead 22-10 at the break. And the Lionesses bolted the doors shut in the second half to seal a 43-10 victory at full time.
The game went well as we expected. I know Uganda really came tough, but we did our best. We played as a team and it came.
It was quite a competitive match. It's unfortunate that in the first half some laps from the team, giving away 3 easy tries, missing tackles. That was, to us as the technical staff, that was more or less a great dent on the team. But moving forward, we hope to do better.
The 4 teams will return to action next on Wednesday, with the Springboks taking on Uganda in the first fixture before Kenya play Madagascar. The tournament concludes next Saturday with the anticipated showdown between the hosts and South Africa as Uganda face Madagascar. Joy Kirukijuma, CGTN.
Elsewhere, Kenya Sevens Rugby announced a 13-man squad to represent the country in the 2 remaining legs of the HSCB Sevens World Championship in Valladolid, Spain and Bordeaux, France. The only major change is the inclusion of winger Victor Odiamomalo, who will be looking to make his debut on the World Series circuit. In the previous leg in Hong Kong, Kenya started strong with a win over Spain before suffering narrow defeats to Great Britain and France in the pool stage. The East Africans later defeated the U.S. in the 9th place semifinals before falling to South Africa. They, however, finished strong with a 21-7 victory over France in the 7th place playoff. The Valladolid leg is scheduled for May the 29th to the 31st, while Bordeaux is set to host the final leg between June the 5th and the 7th. The team now aims for a top 8 finish so as to strengthen their hopes of returning to the HSBC Sevens won in 2027.
We ticked quite a number of good boxes, and definitely we are better prepared than we were when we went to Hong Kong, so we expect better performances from the boys. This week, which was our last week, this was a tougher phase where we just focus a lot on set piece, both attack and defense, what the opposition will bring to the table and how we defend that. Again, we have good clarity from the boys in terms of the understanding of what we need to do whenever we're playing the teams in our pool. So I'm quite happy with the progress, and I'm pretty confident that the team has what it takes to get Kenya back to the top 8.
Well, that is it for this edition of Africa Live. Remember, you can send us your feedback to the contacts on the screen and follow us on digital media platforms. For the team, I'm Richard Ntah saying thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned and stay here on CGTN.
Take me back home. During the 1874 looting of Kumasi and the burning of the palace, thousands of objects were taken from the palace.
Because most of the works that are produced are part of the ancestral body. They are part of the memory body. So if it is far away from them, it becomes injustice, becoming inhuman.
If you don't know your history, If you don't understand your culture, if you don't understand your tradition, you don't have an identity.
You came into my space, you stole something, and we're now going through a lot of labor for you to return what we have stolen. It's a question of morality.
Then why the other side, they believe that this object is too fragile, this object, after all, we fought them, we won them.
We are not begging. It is part of us to say, this is belong to us.
Nigerian cultural warrior Jalili Atiku speaks for thousands of stolen African artworks that are housed in museums across Europe. He travels to Western institutions to make his point. That Africa's cultural heritage are not curiosities found in museums. They are part of the spiritual life of their creators and their communities. And they bring to life the development of African civilizations.
The colonial masters were amazed by the ingenuity of those and the civilization they see in those objects. And most of them were stolen away and they were taken into museums all over the world. Because most of the works that are produced are part of the ancestral body. They are part of the memory body. They are part of the achievement of the people. So if it is far away from them, it becomes injustice, becoming inhuman. You came into my space, you stole something, and we're now going through a lot of labor for you to return what you have stolen. It's a question of morality. So it is just being human for me to ask as an artist. I know, and I've done a lot of works in that respect, and also let people understand it. We are not begging. It is part of us to say, this is belong to us.
Jalili has traveled the world, often dressed like the statues he's demanding returned.
Take me back home, 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 take me back home.
The Benin bronzes are probably the most famous trove of African art to be looted and taken overseas. Most of them were lost to the British Army during the 1900s.
They came under anger and in form of, they call it punitive expedition. In order to punish the Beninese, they looted their treasury, which happened to be bronze, and many objects in the palace, particularly bronze. They looted them and took them outside to the British and sent it to the world market by distributing it, by selling it out.
So even the 1897 expedition that had most of the objects, we know that, well, to me, I don't think it was a punitive thing. I believe that they actually wanted those objects. They had seen the beautiful craftsmanship behind those objects.
About 700 kilometers to the west of Lagos, we hear a similar tale in the Ghanaian city of Kumasi.
In 1874, the British sent Sir Charles Garnet Wesley to Kumasi to invade Kumasi. So Sir Charles Garnet Wesley came and attacked the people, and he was not able to defeat Asantes. So he went and he was asked to come back to Kumasi to burn down the city.
During the 1874 looting of Kumasi and the burning of the palace, thousands of objects were taken from the palace.
The Ashanti kingdom flourished from 1701 until the British sent their king into exile in the Seychelles in 1896.
Ashanti and the British have been friends and enemies. For a very long time they were enemies because Ashanti was controlling almost the whole of the present-day Ghana and beyond. And when the British came, they brought in their strategy of divide and rule, playing other ethnic groups against Ashanti, where the British would aid them to have their independence from Ashanti.
Ghana at one time was known as the Gold Coast. Their artisans worked with this prized metal.
Every art form of the Ashanti people speaks volumes. It has spiritual implications, spiritual values, and then it has a physical value. It's gold. Every item you see about the Ashanti people is gold. And everything gold is wealth, a lot of money.
While the British made off with a fortune, they were not done with the Ashanti.
So in 1896, the British brought troops, some from Senegal, Gambia, Sierra Leone, Nigeria, and Jamaica, to Kumasi. There were about over 3,200 troops. They came and surrounded Kumasi. But he has not prepared at that moment for this war.
King Prempeh I was exiled to the Seychelles. And as for the Ashanti gold,
the British soldiers also looted and took it for themselves. They didn't give it to the British government, so they also sold what they had.
Since the 1960s, African governments, civil societies, activists have been actively campaigning for the return of the ancestral treasures.
They want it back because it's for them. And the elderly people believe in those things more than the youth. At least they came to meet their fathers and mothers who told them a lot of stuff about these items that were carried away. I grew up to hear about these stories, and the way and manner they told the story to me make me feel that I have lost something.
To Jalili, these artworks have deep spiritual significance.
Most of these sculptural pieces that are created from indigenous body of an ancestor were not created as an object for museum pieces. They're created as an object of life, where it connects you or the practitioner to the inner one.
Jalili has a leadership role within the Awori community, consisting of mostly ethnic Yorubas in Greater Lagos. Every 17 days, they perform a ritual that is designed to unlock the energy of their ancestors.
When people get sick in the community, it is because of the imbalances of the space, of the people, and also of some of our own interactions. So Itadogu of the Orisha in Ejigbo is actually to activate the peaceful environment, the energy to be balanced, and of us to live in peace. The custodians are those who have the sacred power to make Iwure our own women in the community. And that's why we say here in Ejigbo, we are of the feminine energy. The person that breathes into it, they inhale the of him and become part of their own life. for healing, for well-being, for all things that make them.
Jalili believes returned artifacts belong to their original communities, not another museum.
So when you take the and put it in the museums, it becomes a dislocated energy. And that's when the idea, when some of us were talking about, let's that you are putting there. Do you actually understand how, why, and what are the processes they were created?
Jalili not alone. Opinion is echoed by others, even those who work for museums. The Ditsong Museum of Cultural History in Johannesburg houses a treasure trove of over 25,000 objects. Much of the collection here was seized from South African communities by the European settlers who held power until the end of the apartheid regime.
With the Witchcraft Suppression Act, so healers, traditional healers, would have been called witches because they use indigenous ways of healing. So some of them were taken from these people who are healers. So before we start working in this space, which is the anthropology collection, we acknowledge the spirits that resides in this space, because a lot of them have been collected, or the so-called collection, uprooted, displaced from the different communities, and there's still a lot of violence and pain.
Motsane considers herself a spiritual person, although not a sangoma or healer. She would like to see artifacts that come back to Africa return to their communities.
That they should not be going to museums when they are taken from Europe. They shouldn't be going to African museums. They should be going to communities, because a museum is just another institution that is colonial concept.
But the efforts of reinstituting African artwork were met with unexpected impediments.
There are laws of antiquity in the UK that is against state museums and monuments getting back to where they were taken from. That law, or those two laws, two very critical laws, are very silent on the means of how the items got to the UK. But of course, they cover that aspect of their return, that you can't return these objects under any circumstances.
Open Restitution Africa works to help the continent gain back some of its cultural treasures.
Africans have been demanding the return of their heritage pretty much from the moment that many of them were taken. There are many documented cases of Africans protesting at the very moment that something is taken. And this is more than 200 years of history of Africans demanding this back. Our research at Open Restitution Africa has shown significantly more discussion, engagement, conversations. In fact, in the sort of academic publishing world, discussion about restitution of African heritage has grown by 500% since 2016.
Molema's organization trains and shares effective practices with governments and institutions.
So there is a long history, what we at Open Restitution Africa call a history of excuses.
Then why the other side, they believe that this object is too fragile. This object, after all, we fought them, we won them, and that's why we are in possession. After all, we are their colonial masters. After all, we are this. After all, they can't even take care of this object.
There's always this excuses like you don't have capacity as far as conservation is concerned, and we are talking about Western conservation. And I always say Africans have always been preserving and conserving their material, our ancestral possessions. We've always been doing that.
The point is, they do not want to let go because of the benefits of which that most of the objects are given to them. Well, it's actually a laughable concept to say we don't have the facility. Well, it's just a common sense. We do have the facility to produce the work, and you are now questioning the facility to be a custodian of our own. It's laughable. They are just bringing up a kind of flimsy excuses to say, we have Nigerian has a lot of facility. We can build it. For example, in Benin, a museum is being constructed, which is going to home everything.
The object belongs to us. That is fact. We don't debate that one. It belongs here. And two, they looted it. And we didn't bargain for war. They just came here on their own and they went with it.
And I think we're at a stage where Africans are not willing to engage with the excuses that are given to us by institutions and sometimes national bodies.
But change is on the way. In 2025, French lawmakers are voting on a bill to reverse a similar law that keeps the artifacts from returning home. The Berlin Ethnological Museum has also acted, returning more than 500 of the Benin bronzes since 2002. Ngaire Blankenberg has viewed the argument from both sides. For 3 years, she was the director of the Smithsonian of African Art in Washington, D.C.
I very quickly in my tenure committed to return everything in our collection, actually, that was unethically procured. But we started with the Benin bronzes that was in the collection at the time. And so we ended up returning and doing a restitution of those back to the Nigerian Commission of Museums and Monuments in Nigeria.
Being an African, she not only understood the historical and cultural context, she also knew how they were procured.
This one is a bronze used by the Oba. They call it altar of the right hand.
They were documentary proof, of course, that these were taken.
Ivor supervised the boxing, making sure that every item was documented and treated with care.
But it was when the objects got here, and then we started the home exhibition, and then to see that the journey had been very long. The negotiations had been very long, it took so many years. And then when it was opened, the exhibition was opened, and then we were all here. I think it was a very joyous time.
In 2024, 32 items came to Kumasi from the British and Victoria and Albert museums. Ivor says that 40 million people have viewed them in person or online since they came back. But many are disappointed that they are here on loan.
These are the items which were recently returned by the British Museum. It was returned last year in the month of May during the homecoming. So a lot of people get excited to see that, but then they feel sad when they hear the part that they are loaned to Ashanti.
Long-term loans, which I do not understand. You cannot steal from me, and then you say you are loaning me something. It does not make sense at all.
Besides pushing the laws to be changed, Plenty of effort is still being made to repatriate more African treasures.
We're talking to museums in Glasgow, in Scotland, and we've been having discussions with the Wellcome Trust, has the Wellcome Collection also in London, and we're talking to others.
In the Menhir Museum, people have come to reconnect with their ancestors. 4,000 school children visit the museum every month.
Things from the foreign world are coming into the system a lot, so it's important to preserve the culture, for these things to be here, so that the upcoming generation can still see what our heritage is about.
The emphasis on young Africans knowing their culture.
We make sure that these students come and, like they say, catch them young. So, we try as much as possible, to educate them, to appreciate their cultural heritage.
If you don't know where you are coming from, you will not know where you are going to. So, if you don't know your history, if you don't understand your culture, if you don't understand your tradition, you don't have an identity. That's why we have these objects to teach these people who they are.
So for them to come over here and be educated in no colonized way, then they will be understanding that their ancestors were not just a people, but they were civilized people.
It's not about fast, it's about doing it well. And doing it well means doing it in ways that really meets African needs, repairs the damage that has happened in the African continent, restores knowledge that has been lost through the process.
Je suis venu récupérer les biens volés de l'Afrique. C'est bien.
From dusk to dawn, 24 hours a day, NTA International is with you in your living room, office, everywhere and anywhere. We provide the company you desire in terms of balanced and up-to-date news, programs and the best of entertainment. Tune in to DSTV channel 251, GoTV channel. You can also see us on Facebook and YouTube for quality content on the go. NTA International, Africa's window to the world.
Well, hello. It is great to be back with you again on Lens on Africa.
Let's zoom our lens on its political history at this moment.
Algeria did not have a centralized political structure prior to its colonization by France.
It is now time for our weekly roundoff of African history. Welcome to the interview segment on Lens on Africa.
Examines its relevance, the pathways to achieving it.
To sustain productivity, there must be continuity.
Where the winds whisper secret, to the sands lies the forgotten kingdom of Da'amat.
It is on this note that we conclude Lens on Africa today.
Thank you for spending your time with us.
Nigeria, a land of rich culture and diverse voices, where every voice matters. In times of disagreement, let's choose dialogue over discord. Together, we can find solutions through understanding and respect. Let's build a stronger Nigeria, one conversation at a time. Dialogue, not protest. Unity, not division. Nigeria, united in dialogue.
Nigeria means a lot to me.
And Nigeria means peaceful cohesion.
My country.
We continue to pray, and then hopefully we will come to understand that unity of purpose, unity of living together.
Our ethnic beliefs and background and culture is our strength.
Ever since the amalgamation period of 1914 to date, about 109 years ago, the people of Nigeria live very peacefully with one another.
I think diversity helps a lot to enhance robust development in Nigeria.
All over the country, you have so many ethnic groups, over 250. That is enough to tell you that this is a blessed country, and God has kept together as one indivisible entity.
It is time spent connecting. Where modern systems see delay, African tradition often sees opportunity for relationship, for conversation, for presence. Two concepts of time. One measures life, the other experiences it. Africa is changing, Nigeria is changing, and so is time. Smartphones and digital schedules, global business timing, clash of tradition and modern efficiency. Two systems now coexist: clock time, lived time. Africans stands between them, not choosing one, but reshaping both.
Progressives Congress presents certificate of return and flag to President Tinubu for 2027 presidential race.
With another 4 years of disciplined focus and national cooperation.
Vice President Shatima leads Nigeria's delegation to presidential inauguration in Benin Republic.
Nigeria urges Africa to balance gas exports with domestic use as gas exporting countries forum marks Silver Jubilee.
Leaders have a responsibility to look beyond immediate revenues and short-term commercial interests.
And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall review political parties' primaries plus monetary policy committee resolutions.
Nigeria's political space is becoming increasingly active as parties finalize their candidates ahead of the 2027 general elections.
Indeed, and the stakes are high from the presidency to governorships, National Assembly seats, and state houses of assembly. The outcome of these primaries will shape the next electoral battle.
The All Progressive Congress, APC, has already presented its flag to President Bola Tinubu, who is seeking a second term in office.
And the party has also produced candidates for several governorship and legislative positions as it moves to consolidate its hold across the country.
In the opposition camp, the People's Democratic Party is also rounding off its primary process, while parties like the ADC are looking to position themselves as alternatives in the race to 2027.
Beyond the candidates, Mr. Demola, the primaries have again exposed some, familiar issues: zoning, internal party democracy, the influence of party structures, and questions around youth representation.
And while political parties continue to gather momentum, attention is also on the economy following the latest decisions from the Central Bank of Nigeria.
The CBN has retained the monetary policy rate at 26.5%, maintaining its current stance in the fight against inflation.
At its 305th Monetary Policy Committee meeting in Abuja, the bank left other key parameters unchanged while expressing cautious optimism about the economy.
The CBN Governor Olayemi Kadoso says the country's exposure to the Middle East energy crisis has remained limited, partly due to ongoing economic reforms.
The committee also noted improvements in SME lending, while the ongoing bank recapitalization process is set to be strengthening financial stability.
So what do these political and economic developments mean for Nigerians in the month ahead?
Well, we will find out in a bit, but because that is our focus this morning on the program Good Morning Nigeria. I am Ademola Adeoye.
And I'm Juma Yusuf, welcoming you to Good Morning Nigeria, the last Monday edition of the month of May. Later, there will be newspaper review, but first, the morning headlines with Frama Paini. Frama, it's good to see you. Been a while.
Good to see you, Juma. Good morning. Good morning, Demola. It's absolutely been a while, but good to be here. Good morning, Nigerians. Here is the morning news. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has been declared winner of the APC presidential primary election, polling 10,999,162 votes to defeat his opponent Stanley Osifo, who secured 16,503 votes. Party stakeholders described the successful conduct of the 2026 APC primaries as a resounding victory for Nigeria's democracy.
That our people believe in Mr. President and believe in APC.
President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is on ground. He's being supported by the teeming APC members in the state and the teeming population.
Meanwhile, President Bola Tinubu has expressed his readiness to serve with greater determination in building a more secure and prosperous Nigeria if elected for the second term. He made the commitment in his acceptance speech after receiving the certificate and flag as the standard bearer of the All Progressive Congress APC in the 2027 presidential election.
We will firmly place Nigeria on an irreversible path of economic expansion, industrialization, energy security, infrastructure development, food sovereignty, and democratic consolidation.
Nigeria has reaffirmed commitment to strengthening bilateral ties and a deeper strategic partnership with the Republic of Benin to sustain economic and democratic gains in the region. Vice President Kashim Shettima stated this during an interview in Cotonou, the Benin Republic capital, where he represented President Bola Ahmed Tinubu at the inauguration of President Romuald Wadagni. He said Nigeria's presence at the event reflects the president's enduring commitment to solidarity and cooperation with neighboring countries. The vice president described the relationship between Nigeria and Benin Republic as one built on centuries of social interaction, cultural affinity, and economic interdependence that transcend political boundaries. He reflects that Nigeria and Benin are also implementing regional trade and economic frameworks under the ECOWAS Trade Liberalization Scheme and the Common External Tariff System aimed at improving the business environment and accelerating regional economic integration.
We show solidarity, empathy, and support towards strengthening democracy in West Africa.
And as the Gas Exporting Countries Forum, that is GECF, marks its silver jubilee, a message from Nigeria's Minister of State for Petroleum Resources and Gas and President of the 2026 GECF Ministerial Meeting, Ekperikpe Ekpo, is calling for robust strategies to balance natural gas exports with domestic utilization across Africa. This is at its third Africa Day workshop in Doha.
African leaders have a responsibility to look beyond immediate revenues and short-term commercial interests, and to safeguard the long-term interests of African societies.
And in other news, operatives of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, have arrested a 63-year-old Chinese woman at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Lagos, following her attempt to smuggle a large consignment of Canadian loud, a synthetic strain of cannabis, into Nigeria. The woman was intercepted at the Terminal 2 arrival hall upon arrival from Thailand via Dubai with 2 large travel boxes containing 31.0 kilograms of Canadian loud, a synthetic strain of cannabis. She claimed to work as a caregiver in Malaysia and told investigators that her daughter sponsored her trip from Malaysia to Thailand and subsequently to Nigeria. In a separate operation at the import shed of Lagos Airport, NDLEA operatives recovered a major consignment of tapentadol tablets. The shipment, which arrived from India aboard a cargo flight, contained 29 large cartons with over 1.8 million tablets of tapentadol and 250 milligrams worth an estimated 2.1 billion naira. Meanwhile, at the Akanu Ibiam International Airport, Enugu, a suspect was intercepted by NDLEA operatives. After official procedures, the suspect excreted a total of 185.36 grams of cocaine. Also at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, a 29-year-old building engineer was arrested while attempting to board a flight to Milan via Addis Ababa. A search of his luggage led to the recovery of 10,280 pills of tramadol and tapentadol, including Tramarkin 225 milligrams and tramadol 200 milligrams, concealed in a foil paper and hidden inside his carton and his suitcase. The agency says similar interdictions were also carried out in Edo, Kano, and Ekiti states as part of ongoing nationwide operations. And those are the highlights of the news this morning. Good Morning Nigeria continues shortly with Jumai and Ademola right after this break. Please don't go away.
Come on. Let's go.
Darling natural twists blend with her hair over time.
Yeah, that's perfect.
She's really more beautiful every week. Darling natural twists get better every day, just like you.
Our bodies get serums, washes, lotions, cleansers, scrubs, but underarms only get deodorant? That's why our new breakthrough formula contains pure hyaluron and vitamin C to deeply care for your underarms for a softer and even skin tone in 2 weeks. With 72-hour sweat and odor protection, try the new Nivea Derma Control Natural Tone because your underarms deserve more. Nivea is for skin.
TerraCube, unwrap joy, unleash taste. Progress no dey happen just like that. It dey come from support when you need help.
Mommy, I got the school fees. You too much. Na money point. Oh.
Money point, thank you.
Customer, na transfer, abi? Confirm.
Bro, na transfer.
Na money point, okay? Oh, na confirm.
Progress na peace of mind when you know say payment go land at Sure Banker. Progress na small wind where the carry person go far.
No worries, I've go make am. Go Bible.
Victor, even you, they use money point?
Of course now, they use money point.
Confirm.
Money Point, made for your progress.
Imagine lovely meals you can cook with these ingredients. You spend heavily, but no guarantee of a tasty meal. Not making a right choice of seasoning cube can ruin your meal, money, and confidence. For a tasty meal, do not compromise. Choose Gold.
Use Terra Gold for the rich, consistent taste your loved ones crave for. Good for soups, stews, and jollof. Terra Gold. 1 cube, endless possibilities.
Ina fata wannan kulawan da kake bani za ta ci gaba bayan mun haihu.
Kin ga Lami, bayan kin haihu zan ƙara dagewa da ƙwazo wajen nema don kula da mu.
Za mu jima ba, za mu ƙara tara yawan yaya.
Me gida a shirye kake kenan? To ni kuma fa?
To mu tattauna mana na samun mafita.
Tattaunawa tsakanin ma'aurata yana da muhimmanci. Mu tattauna.
Yanzu mun san abin da kowa ke so.
From my husband's germ-filled journey to work and the sweaty journey back home, what else can give you all day long protection?
Germs are everywhere, but the Dettol 12-hour protector shield shields your family every day.
Dettol.
Be 100% sure.
Godrich Air Pocket? Wow!
With Power Gel technology, keeps the bathroom fresh for up to 30 days. Godrich Air Pocket. Bye-bye bad smell. Hello sweet fragrance.
Give more strength to your hair with Mega Growth Leave-In Strengthener. It's infused with nourishing oils and conditioning proteins, so you can say goodbye to hair breakage. Wow! Mega Growth Leave-In Strengthener.
Good, tasty food is worth living for. Worried about your oil? Every time you enjoy your favorite meal? Introducing Smart Balance. Smart Balance Rice Bran Oil is rich in Gamma Original. Golden Terra Smart Balance Oil reduces bad cholesterol.
Confidence is important in life's little moments. Strong teeth can help, even if they get her into trouble sometimes. A great smile is useful to break the ice, and making friends is easier when you know you have fresh breath. I give my family confidence with Pepsodent Triple Protection 123. Its antibacterial action formula gives them cavity protection, white teeth, and fresh breath.
Get whiter teeth with the new Pepsodent Natural Charcoal Toothpaste. Introducing the new Jig Sachet. Whitening your whites has never been more affordable. Now you can keep whites shining brighter and disinfect by killing 99.9% of germs on your floors and other surfaces. Just jig it with Jig Sachet.
TerraQ. Unwrap joy. Unleash taste.
The prestigious NTA Television College, widely recognized for its professionalism and excellence in media training, has achieved another significant milestone. In addition to its existing affiliation with Ahmadu Bello University Zaria for the award of a degree in mass communication, the college has now received official approval from the National Board for Technical Education, NBTE, to commence National Diploma, ND programs in mass communication and multimedia. Additional programs are also in progress. Admission requirements: a minimum of 5 O-level credit passes in relevant subjects. For National Diploma ND programs, minimum JAMB admissible score of 100. For degree programs, recommended JAM score of 180 and above. This is a great opportunity to become part of the college's growing legacy in media and broadcast education. For more information,
visit our website at www.ntatvc.edu.ng or call these following numbers: 0803-838-4343, 0806-980-9897. Announcer Management.
Thanks for staying with us. You're still on to Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. It's now time for newspaper review.
Let's go through the dailies this morning, and our newspaper reviewer is not around for today too. Let me begin with the Daily Trust newspaper, and just below the masthead of the Daily Trust newspaper, what you should know about FG's 10 billion loan scheme. If you want to know all about it, you want to know how it's going to be distributed, you go to page 27. And the picture story you see there, Benue State Government, congratulations on President Tinubu getting the presidential nomination from the APC. And let's quickly go to the Blueprint newspaper. The Blueprint newspaper, above the masthead of the Blueprint newspaper, troops nab 13 illegal miners in FCT, rescue 92 kidnapped victims in Borno. You find the details on page 8. And AGF leads defense in Dangote. NNPCL regulators fuel import suit. You find the details on page 8. And just below the masthead of the Blueprint newspaper, Tinubu picks APC presidential ticket with over 10 million votes. And that's also on page 8. And the congratulations on the front page, Tanita Security Services Nigeria Limited, a toast to President Tinubu, who the cap fits. That's all on the front page of the Blueprint newspaper.
All right, thank you, Jumai. I have This Nigeria newspaper, and just beside that nameplate, we have NCAA sanctions Air Peace, Arik, Ibom Air, 8 others over debts. If you want to get the details, you can go to page 15. Tinubu, I also lose sleep, weight over economy, admits insecurity in the country, vows to fight it. APC presents President Tinubu with 2027 nomination certificate. That's the headline of that story, and it can be found on page 4. We have bandits storm Kwara Prayer Center, kill 3, adopt 15 worshippers. That is details on page 4. NCDC intensifies surveillance, preparedness against Ebola. Details of that story, it's on page 18. We have Salah, many Muslims may forgo RAM as prices hit 1.3 million naira. Traders blame inflation, insecurity, weak naira for price hike. Expert advise faithful to embrace spiritual excellence instead of the Eid. Well, have you bought your ram, Juma? Let me first ask, because I'm expecting something.
You just saw the price now. For where I'm still expecting, maybe God will lead somebody to send me ram, but God, it's not easy. It's not easy.
The prices is just alarming.
Yes.
And a lot of people may not be able to afford it.
Yes, may not. Except if they kept it maybe months ahead or so. But at last minute, in Abuja, there's never a place to keep it. So it's not like when we're home in Maiduguri, you can just buy maybe 6 months to Salah, keep it at home, be feeding it, then on Salah. But here, there's no space. In Abuja, you can't keep it. And if you have to buy it a week to Salah or...
Maybe you should have bought in Maiduguri and asked somebody to be helping you there.
To bring it to Abuja for what now?
You know, you didn't envisage that
it
the
will cost
prices.
more bringing it to Abuja from Maiduguri with the fuel crisis that is happening right now. But
anyway, I think the most important thing is the essence of the Eid.
Yes,
that people should imbibe, you know, embrace that spiritual,
yes,
you know,
yes.
of
That's the
Eid.
most important because the Quran says if you don't have,
yes, if you cannot afford it, don't, you know.
Don't stress yourself, don't take a loan to buy, don't go and take BC and all that. But I hope it gets better.
I hope people will listen to that advice, actually.
I hope
not
so
to go and borrow.
Collect BC that will come and be tormenting you after eating the ram in just one day. And then the spiritual essence itself is much more important.
It is much more important, okay?
And congratulations all around for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Yes, at least he was able to clinch that ticket to represent APC again for his second term. Well, that's our discussion. I mean, it's part of our discussion today.
Part of our discussion.
So let's just leave that for the analysts to come and talk more about that.
So what you should know about FG's 10 billion loan scheme. Actually, this is the first time I'm hearing about it.
What about it?
It said, I don't know, it said many years down the line after independence, Nigerian civil servants continue to struggle, under the weight of rising rents, stagnant wages, and the growing impossibility of owning a home. This is further compounded by the housing challenges and all that. So I think it's for civil servants. That will be good. We'll get to read about it all.
But there's
going to be succor for civil servants, rent burden on Nigerian workers and all that. Wow. This is good news for Nigerian workers.
I hope it will be
good news. Yes.
It's good news, but is it the implementation is where the problem
as always,
is.
As always, implementation is always a problem. And who will get access? Accessibility to matters. Do you need to know somebody to get it, or do you just go fill a form, go out there, do the process yourself? How is the process going to be? You go to page 27, you find out all about it, and then you know what to do.
Well, I fear that during this Salah, break, air, passengers might have some difficulties because of these sanctions imposed by NCAA, on some airlines like Air Peace, Arik, Ibom Air, and 8 others over debts. So if NCAA is sanctioning them, which means that air passengers likely to face
the brunt.
Yes, they are likely to face, a lot of challenges, traveling. If these airlines are not going to be operating during this, festive period, so that's another big challenge for air travelers. Then we have this bandit storm Kwara Prayer Center killing 3 and abducting 15, worshippers. It was unfortunate, but
we know... saying not again, but it keeps happening.
Well, it's just there and there, but we know that our security forces are really doing a lot, to stop all this.
Putting themselves out there every day. And but there's good news in Borno. 92 kidnapped victims have been rescued.
That's good news.
Yeah, that's good news. And troops nabbed 13 illegal miners in FCT. That is the commonwealth of this country. Why do it illegally? And you'll be caught at the end of the day.
NCDC intensifies surveillance preparedness against Ebola. That's good.
That's good.
At least for now, we have not had any case of...
But still, we must be alert.
Yeah, I think they are. That's
all our entry points, although we have porous borders, but the legal entry points, I think, people come into this country
especially at the airports.
Checked. Yes, at airport. Not just people come more through the borders than the airports. People, yes, people follow through the borders more than the airport because most Nigerians don't fly actually because of the cost. So there are people coming in from all the borders, Benin Republic, Niger Republic, Cameroon and all that. I believe there should be checks at the border so that what happened with Dr. Stella then will not happen again.
Yeah.
We don't want to lose anybody to Ebola in Nigeria again. It's a painful death.
Actually, that woman paid the supreme price,
yes,
she
did.
and you're trying
to
rest
in peace. And
she
kept Nigeria safe. If that man has passed through, only God knows what would have happened. But I think there should be more checks at the airports, at the borders, at the all entry points, so that because it's like it's escalating where it is.
Well, it is, but it's not in Nigeria, and we pray that it will
doesn't
not
come.
Yeah.
But at the same time, while we pray, we should also be alert.
Okay. We should be, and that's why the NCDC they are, intensifying surveillance at the various entry points. Well, also, the president says he also is worried, with the state of the economy and also the insecurity, and vows to fight it. I know everybody will be worried. The president being the number one citizen in charge, of security and the economy, of course he will be worried. And
He'll also loses weight and sleep over the economy.
Losing weight and sleep, that's what he said.
You're leading a country of more than 250 million.
It's not easy.
There's no sleep, actually.
Of course. Because you besides this insecurity, and there are other
other issues
as well that it will be combating with.
And with this politics that has started now, with opposition and all that.
But he's used to it. He's been a politician for how many years now?
Yes. Longer than some people who are born. Yes. We hope he doesn't lose more sleep and weight, because he needs his rest. It's good to rest once in a while, Mr. President.
So let me say congratulations to you. I mean, yesterday...
You just have to say it. You just have to say it.
Yes.
We are champions.
Yes, you deserve that.
We deserve it.
After 22 years of barrenness.
Yes. And for once, London is feeling it, that yes, it's good when
London has always felt it, because Chelsea is London. So
no.
Chelsea has been winning.
We're talking about Arsenal. Look at what it is. Chelsea, even when Chelsea wins, we have not seen that kind of momentum, that kind of crowd, that kind of Have you seen Nigerians, Aliko Dangote, and all that, supporters of Arsenal? I didn't even know they were supporters of Arsenal, but wonderfully. Well, the thing is, Mr. Demola, we're the most loyal supporters in the world. Even while losing, we're still celebrating. We're supporting our team, telling them to move on. Now it has happened. I am just excited. I'm happy. I wish I have money to go and see the final of the Euro Cup. But, well, we'll see what happens. We're going to take that one too, so that we become...
Anyway, it's your time, so just, relish it and enjoy the moment. You understand?
I am.
But I wish you all the best on, this coming Saturday. When you face PSG. It's not going to be an easy task.
Walkover, yes. It's not going to be.
I remember they were the one that kicked you people out last year.
This time around, we're going to kick them out. Don't worry, we're going to kick them out. They should just be ready, because our boys are fired up. They are fired up. All they need to do is just go touch the ball, and they will win. They will become double champions once again.
Well, let's look at what Osimhen is doing. Osimhen is doing great, in his team, and NFF is, congratulating him, for its. Anyway, but I think
I wish Nigeria is at the World Cup. I just wish we're at the World Cup.
All right, don't worry, we'll be there at the next World Cup. So let's just take a break now. When we come back, we'll kickstart our conversation this morning. Stay with us.
From my husband's germ-filled journey to work and the sweaty journey back home, what else can give you all-day-long protection?
Germs are everywhere, but the Dettol's 12-hour protector shield shields your family every day.
Dettol.
Be 100% sure.
Cube, unwrap joy, unleash taste.
Once upon a time, there was a land plagued by blandness. Food had lost its flavor and there was nothing left to savor. Just then, the taste maker arrives to restore taste to this land of blandness. All she did was sprinkle, stir, and serve. And from that day on, they knew one truth. All they needed is sprinkle, stir, serve.
Tastemaker.
You make choices every day. Your essential routine shouldn't be one of them. Start with Nivea Men Deep Body Lotion with Max Tech, powered by Black Carbon, that gives you 48 hours moisture. Then, lock in that powerful dark wood scent with Nivea Men Deep Roll-On with Max Tech that gives you 72 hours sweat and odor protection. Skin is for playing it smart. Nivea is for skin. Nivea Men, proud sponsors of Real Madrid.
Guys, food is ready.
Cook to impress.
Give more strength to your hair with Mega Growth Leave-In Strengthener. It's infused with nourishing oils and conditioning proteins so you can say goodbye to hair breakage. Wow! Mega Growth Leave-In Strengthener.
The world needs moms. With a splash of Golden Terra oil, a mom can transform a frown into a smile. Change no thanks into yes please. Resolve family feuds without blowing a whistle. Providing tasty family meals is all that matters. Where there are moms, there is love. Golden Terra oil, pour pure love.
Are you ready? Join us on Reshaping Democracy, a groundbreaking program on the network service of the NTA, where citizens get the chance to ask ministers, heads of ministerial departments, agencies, and other top government officials questions on their performance and delivery of mandates. With no sector of limits, conversations build around bridging communication gaps for feedback and effect as our guests engage with the people they serve.
How does ND foster partnerships with organizations, government agencies, NGOs, among others?
As our leaders give account to citizens' inquiries on good governance, tune in to Reshaping Democracy, a creative concept coming up every Tuesday evening at 10:05 p.m.
This is Reshaping Democracy.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. And to provide a background to our conversation, MPC Resolutions Part 2, here's a background report packaged by our correspondent Musa Abubakar.
In a tightening global economy shaped by inflation pressures and energy shocks, Nigeria's monetary authorities are holding firm. At its 305th meeting, the Central Bank of Nigeria's Monetary Policy Committee retains the monetary policy rate at 26.5%, alongside other key parameters in a continued effort to rein in inflation. Governor Olayemi Cardoso says the impact of the Middle East energy crisis on Nigeria has been muted thanks to ongoing domestic reforms that are cushioning external shocks.
We have been able to create buffers that have protected us during this period. We are clearly adopting policies that are taking us in the right direction.
The MPC also welcomed an upward review of Nigeria's sovereign credit rating while maintaining that the growth outlook remains resilient despite global uncertainty. In the financial system, bank recapitalization is progressing relatively seamlessly, strengthening confidence in the banking sector.
We are fully on top of all of the banks that are still on that road of travel, and there's business continuing as usual, and we support all the efforts that they are making towards getting over the regulatory.
There's also rising credit flow to SMEs as banks diversify lending, while obligor limits for development finance institutions have been upgraded to deepen access to finance. The message from the Apex Bank: stability remains the anchor, even as growth slowly gathers strength.
Thank you very much, Musa, for that background report. And now joining us here for the discussion which borders on MPC resolutions, let me introduce Dr. Victor Obo. He's the Director, Monetary Policy Department, Central Bank of Nigeria. He's a regular here. Dr. Obo, it's good to have you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, and good morning, Nigerians.
It's good to see you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure too.
You know, there was a part 1 on Thursday of this MPC.
Yes.
But you were not around because you were busy, and now we want to hear it, like I said earlier, from the horse's mouth.
That's right.
Can you sort of break it down for us and give us the key takeaways from this resolution that took place?
Thank you once again, Nigerians, and it's a pleasure to be here. The Monetary Policy Committee, as you are aware, met on Tuesday and Wednesday last week. And they decided to retain all the parameters. But among all of them is the monetary policy rate, which is the rate at which it indicates how much the banks, commercial banks, could borrow from the central bank. And if they borrow at a higher interest rate, it translates to higher lending rates for the public or all the investors that would like to borrow from the bank. What this means is that that rate has not changed. Recall that in February, there was a rate cut, meaning that the committee at that time considered the prevailing conditions and felt that there was no need to raise any rate. Rather, they cut the rate to ensure that people borrow at a lower lending rate. So that same decision was upheld in May meeting, meaning that there was no change, even though there was a marginal rise in inflation. Yes. Now, what does it mean? What it means is that the committee reviewed all the recent developments, both internationally and locally or domestically, and found that there was no need to change the status quo. You know, there was no need to change the status quo. People would ask, why did the bank or the committee not raise rates? This is the reason. As the governor said, the committee reviewed all the development and found that even though between March and April, we have a slight increase in inflation rate, meaning that general prices of goods and services had risen a little bit, there was no cause for alarm. Nigeria, as I assure you, is in a very stable macroeconomic conditions. And I tell you why. What we saw as a marginal increase, remember in February, we were at 15.06%. In March, we rose to 15.38%. In April, we rose slightly to 15.69%. If you watch carefully, the increase from February to March was higher than from March to April. From March to April, you saw it slowing down a little bit. In fact, as a matter of comfort, from February to March, we recorded increase in both food and core. When we say food, the general prices of food. When we say core, we talk about non-food items.
So you're prioritizing price stability now?
Yes.
CBN, okay.
Yes. So that is it. But all that changed between March and April. And now what is the cause? What is the driver of this increase? Of course, it's because of the crisis in the Middle East. Because the crisis in the Middle East, as you all know, affected the international price of crude oil, which of course affect our own local price here. So you saw some increase, particularly in the price of PMS or petrol, which of course has multiplier effect on transportation, on the price of food and other commodities. Now, that shock that came from the Middle East is temporary. The rise you saw between February and March was an initial shock that pushed the prices up. from March to April, you saw the increase was not as shocking, as serious as it was between February and March. So what it means, in essence, is that Nigeria was minimally affected. Yes, Nigeria was, compared to other countries, Nigeria was minimally affected. I'll give you an instance. Our exchange rate, there was little or no depreciation. You saw the exchange rate very, very stable, unlike in other countries. In other countries, they recorded very serious depreciation. Some had to, had to intervene a lot from their reserves. That the central bank did not do. So you can see that because of that, we have remained very stable. And why were we not hurt seriously because of that impact? It was because of the reforms that government had carried out, especially the central bank. That is what shielded us from that shock. And I tell you that our fundamentals are fine, and we are sure that within a very short time, we will return to the path of disinflation, which we had enjoyed for 11 months before this interruption.
So what you are saying now is that Nigeria is insulated, from the effects of
largely insulated, yes.
But ordinary Nigerians who want to contest that with you, going by, the rate at which prices of food items and other, items are, going up. But with the tight liquidity controls and unchanged reserve requirement, how effective do you think the current monetary tightening will bring down this inflation if the crisis in the Middle East persists?
Now, this is it. We have looked at the crisis in the Middle East, and we have done some form of scenario analysis.
Yeah.
Yes. And the central bank is up to its game, reviewing this development over and over and over on a daily basis. So there are checks and balances. If the crisis linger for a while, what should the central bank do? There are issues that have already been mapped out and know exactly what to do. Now, if the crisis linger for a while, what it means is that the price of petrol and some other, goods and services might rise. There are, responses from both the bank and the fiscal authorities. You get the point. Now, what is very good for us in Nigeria is the emergence of the Dangote refinery, which has helped to slow down the freight and all of that are associated with the price of PMS, because that is the major channel through which imported inflation filter into the country. So if all that happens, the coordination between the fiscal and the monetary will be able to map out specific measures that will be put in place to ensure that the prices do not skyrocket, terribly. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria had the option of raising rates. And I tell you, some central banks did that. But when we reviewed our own situation, remember that we have what we call forecast, forward-looking to see what will happen, how inflation will behave in the next 1 or 2, 3 months. And what the forecast tells us is that this is temporary. It could rise for a while, but certainly it will reverse, and we will continue with disinflation. So I want to assure Nigerians that that initial shock, which is not only limited to Nigeria, across the entire world, inflation rose. In fact, in most of our selected countries which we analyzed, they recorded increase in inflation because of the impact of the Middle East crisis. In fact, for us, the impact has been minimal.
The impact has been minimal, but some economic analysts, have also posited that maybe the central bank should find a way in which it can, cushion the effect, the temporary effect, on the citizens by maybe giving some palliatives or helping some government institutions like the Bank of Industry, the Bank of Agriculture, by giving them incentives to be able to pass on to the populace.
Especially the SMEs.
Yes, so that's okay. Now, what the central bank has done is to ensure that commercial banks are well capitalized to be able to be in a good position to support the real sector, including the MSMEs and the rest of them. The recent capitalization exercise that was completed increased the capital base of banks. 33 banks, successfully recapitalized. And even the remaining 4, as the governor said, are on their way to recapitalization. So the bank is in a very good position to be able to lend to the real sector. That is number one. Number two, the development bank institutions, like the BOI and the rest of them, are also well capitalized to be able to support the real sector. What the central bank is doing is to ensure that there is a clear distinction between monetary and fiscal responsibilities. What the central bank all over the world is mandated to do is to create an enabling environment, low and stable prices, to ensure that all other investors are able to perform adequately. Now, the role of subsidy and support services is actually within the realm of the fiscal sector. And I'm sure the ministries, the agencies, and the rest of them are well positioned. And I think they're doing a great job. You know a number of agricultural programs that have been promoted by the federal government. All these are helping to ensure that the price of food, which constitutes the major component of our price basket, has gotten some support. And that has helped to cushion some effect from the rising prices of food. So that is exactly how these roles are distributed.
Okay, Dr. Victor, I would like to know how this signals to investors. The president just went around some countries, with investors, trying to bring, and has also told people that Nigeria is open for business.
Yes.
So what does this signal to?
Oh, yes. Let me tell you, the first signal is even to know, and it's gratifying, that in the midst of this crisis, Nigeria got an upgrade from Standard & Poor rating agency. One of the 3 international rating agencies, Standard & Poor. In the midst of this crisis, Nigeria got an upgrade from B- to B+. It's a stamp. Yes, it's a stamp of confidence. And what did they say? They say, yeah, in spite of the rattling effect of the crisis in the Middle East, Nigeria is fundamentally positioned, is strong enough to withstand those shocks because of the reforms that have happened and delivered successfully. Then look ahead. And look, these are international rating agencies. They don't look at anybody's face. They say it as it is based on their analysis. You get the point? And they told the whole world that Nigeria is in a very stable condition.
We're on track.
Yes, we're on track. We're on track. Look, what do they see? They see our exchange rate. The reform that has taken place is so fundamental that we cannot reverse to those situations. If not for a situation and time like this, what you would have seen is a boom in black market. Those black market activities where people will begin to have, reap a lot of profit from buying and selling of dollars are gone for good. They are gone. Our dollar, our Naira dollar exchange rate is very, very stable. For the first time in many decades, you can walk into the bank and ask for dollar and you get it. Even if you don't get it from the bank and you go to the BDC market, the spread is so minimal. It's so minimal.
Okay.
For the first time in many decades, I carry my Naira card, ATM, and go to any part of the world and use it. You don't need to go with any dumb account card.
So you can travel with your Naira card.
I'm not
so we're back to using our ATM card.
Yes,
because at
I'm
the point
telling
in
you
time
what I benefited from. Everyone, students abroad.
Okay. The CBN has a single-digit inflation target, but with the current happenings, especially, the inflation right now, realistically, what's the timeline? Do you think the timeline is still achievable?
Yes.
At this current policy rate?
Yes. Now, this is the ambition of the Monetary Policy Committee, and that is why they are focused. You will recall that we have had this tight monetary policy stance for some time now, and people could sometimes ask, is this central bank not responsive to growth? Are they not pro-growth and the rest of them? Everything the central bank does is to support sustainable growth. And it requires proper calibration to ensure that you don't relapse in what you are doing. So a single digit is achievable, and our forecasts are showing that with all things being equal, we're going to achieve it. It may delay a little bit because of the interruption we have had, because of the international shocks that we receive, but I tell you that the bank is on course to achieve a single-digit inflation.
With the narrowing of interest rate globally, and the stance of the CBN, not to increase the rate of interest, in Nigeria, how does the CBN ensure that Nigeria remains attractive, from what the question she asked, attractive to foreign investors?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. At the moment, Nigeria is very, very attractive. Number one, what investors look at, I have told you before, they look at your reserves. In the event that they want to repatriate their investment, is there enough FX liquidity to be able to be paid? The answer is abundantly yes. Our reserves as of today stands over 50 billion US. We are in a very comfortable position. Let me give you an instance. When this shock started in early March, some foreign investors were worried, they were worried, and they wanted to leave. After a week or so, they decided not to leave. They said, look, we are comfortable here. They checked everything. That is why you have not recorded massive outflow. Even those that left had to come back to the market. So from that angle, Nigeria is in a good position. Number two, our real rate of return, that is the interest that you pay on investment minus inflation rate, is positive. Our real rate of return is positive. So that means that investors that bring in their funds here, they have positive return on their investment. So they are comfortable. They have no reason to leave. And how do you know that? If investors are taking their investment away, it will easily show in exchange rate. You see massive depreciation happening to the exchange rate. So you haven't seen anything. And the bank is not selling dollars to the market. It now means that it is liquidity that is coming from foreign investors that is sustaining the foreign exchange market by itself. The bank is a mere participant in the market.
Okay, with all the successes now, Nigerians are a little bit bothered about the, elevated borrowing, from the federal government. So I'm thinking that how long can the economy, sustain such elevated borrowing cost?
Yeah, so I'm not a spokesman of the Ministry of Finance.
Yes.
But I will tell you for free, because we also have robust interaction, what we call policy coordination with the fiscal. Now, if you look at the record, the government is doing a lot to slow down the rate of borrowing. And this is why they came up with all these reforms, particularly the tax reform. Our tax to GDP ratio has been one of the lowest in the world. And that is why there is always a recourse to borrowing. Now, that has happened. with the tax reform that has happened, a lot has improved in terms of internally generated revenue through tax and other, returns to government. So that definitely, in the near to medium term, is going to reduce the quantum of borrowing that we might see. Because by the time you are able to meet your budget, your budget proposal or your approved budget from internally generated revenue through taxes, you might not need to borrow to run the budget deficit anymore.
All right, let's look at the impact all these policies will have on Nigerians. How quickly should Nigerians expect to see the impact of these MPC decision on lending rates, saving rates, and even on consumer prices?
Okay, so what will happen, some could be instant. For instance, some banks or some investors could think that MPC was going to raise rates because of the slight increase in inflation that we recorded. We did not do that. So what does that mean? It means that the loans that Nigerians have received or collected from the banks are not going to be repriced. So they are going to pay the interest as they were paying before.
At the same rate.
At the same rate. Mm-hmm. You get the point. That is number one. If not, if the central bank had raised that rate, if I was going to raise rate and prices all over the country and will rise, that was no longer going to happen. So because what the central bank is doing now is that their decision is basically on the ground of data. It's strictly according to the data they have analyzed. So they don't just sit down and take decisions. So that will give some forward guidance to investors. That look, I have so bag of rice in my store, and I thought the central bank was going to raise rates so that prices will rise, and then by the time I exhaust that stock, I will go back to the market and buy at a higher price. That is no longer going to happen. So you have to now sell at the existing price. Otherwise, you are in a competitive market and you may not have anybody to sell to.
Indeed. So what measurable benefits, have, ordinary Nigerians generally seen, from this prolonged tight monetary stance that the CBN has?
What it means is that prices are stable, and it shows that the central bank is committed to bringing down inflation. That even though the pains we might have now seemingly is temporary, it is temporary. Definitely, as your colleague said, the Central Bank of Nigeria is moving towards a single-digit inflation. So that's an assurance. And investors also know that there is stability. And whatever we are doing is to ensure that within the shortest possible time, we're able to restore and consolidate on that stability such that the purchasing power of the ordinary Nigerians is restored.
So now that the Middle East crisis is still there, because we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, though we heard that there must be, they might have a deal between today and tomorrow. If it persists, what's going to happen?
If it persists,
yes.
Nigeria is working together. The central bank, the Ministry of Finance, and all other fiscal agencies are all working together. Remember that the crisis in itself has its two sides. Why we don't celebrate the crisis because of the casualty and all the impact it has, the other side of it is that as a net exporter of crude oil, it has its own benefit to Nigeria. There is this oil price windfall that we are enjoying, because at the moment the price of a barrel of oil is far ahead of the budget benchmark, that we have earmarked for crude oil. So it is expected that through strong policy coordination, that should be able to have a way of ameliorating its impact on the populace. And I'm sure the fiscal authority is doing something in that respect to ensure that the impact is minimal on Nigerians. Apart from that, because of that coordination, there are scenario analysis that if the price of PMS rise to a certain level, what should the bank do? What should government do? All these are issues that have been discussed between the central bank and government, so that each of these authorities should be able to do something that should not harshly affect the population.
As we begin to wind up on this conversation, what should the average Nigerian on the street take away from this MPC resolution?
Okay, thank you very much. The first thing is that the average Nigerian should not panic. There's no room for panic. The average Nigerian should know that this shock is temporary and it's not going to last for too long. There is one reason why the average Nigerian should know that. The issue at stake in the Middle East is about oil. It's a global commodity. It does not affect just the US, Israel, and Iran. It affects the entire world. In issues like that, there is probability that the impasse will not be prolonged for too long, even though it's already long. But you can see a lot of effort from the international community to ensure that there is a deal. That's number one. Number two, the ordinary Nigerian should know that our economic fundamentals are stable. We are in a better position. And that prices, because we are in a better position, every effort government is doing is to ensure that we have a steady decline in prices of goods and services, so that we are able to have an economy that is sustainable, so that we can reap the benefit of these reforms.
Okay, if you could send probably a message, to markets and households after, this conversation, what would that be?
First, let me speak to businesses or firms. The prices of goods and services are stable. They should believe in the fundamentals of Nigeria, the macro fundamentals. If foreign organizations like S&P can have confidence in what Nigeria is doing in the midst of this shock, then it is very clear that ordinary Nigerians should also believe in the reforms of the present government, that prices are not going to skyrocket, as some people would think. So let them have belief in the reform that is going on. Let the ordinary Nigerians know that whatever decision, whatever reform government and the central bank is doing is in the interest of the masses, so their purchasing power can be restored and the future can be greater and a win-win for all
I like
of us.
the fact when you say the masses, because right now, let's say we have 250 million Nigerians, and I believe that maybe 200 million Nigerians don't even know what MPC is.
Yes.
So what are you doing to educate Nigerians on that?
Yeah, so this is part of the platform, and I thank NTA for always doing that. And when we come here, we try to break it down to a very simple level so that everybody would understand what we are talking about. So when MPC meets, MPC is meeting because they are worried if prices rises, because rise in price affect the poor more than the rich. So MPC is sitting at every of their meetings to ensure that the masses are protected and prices do not rise. That is why their mandate is to ensure low and stable inflation.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Victor Obo, for giving us that assurance that things are well with the economy. Dr. Victor Obo is the Director of Monetary Policy Department, Central Bank of Nigeria. Thank you so much for throwing more lights on the MPC resolution.
It's my pleasure.
All right.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you for coming. This is Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NT. And to provide a background to our conversation, review of political parties, that's our second conversation. Here's a background report packaged by our correspondent, Fimo T. Yourself.
The Electoral Act 2026 has fundamentally transformed Nigeria's political landscape, creating an intense environment for ongoing party primaries ahead of the 2027 general election. The elimination of indirect primary leaves only two legal routes for candidate selection: direct primary or consensus. Political analysts believe that the statutory shift has drastically re-engineered the internal operations, power balances and vulnerabilities within all major political parties. Findings shows that the analysis of the ongoing 2026 political party primaries highlights key statutory shifts, party dynamics and developing judicial disputes. Key structural dynamics revealed: the consensus versus direct primary battle, consensus vulnerabilities, the architect's dilemma, incumbent casualties, grassroots vulnerabilities, register manipulation, and grassroots monetization. Major party landscape emphasized that the ruling APC has relied on highly organized direct primaries and strategic bloc negotiations. Incumbent power remains dominant. The current president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has expressed his readiness to serve with greater determination in building a more secure and prosperous Nigeria if elected for the second term. The commitment was part of his acceptance speech after receiving the certificate of return and flag as the standard bearer of the All Progressives Congress APC in the 2027 presidential election. However, the state-level legislative and governorship primaries have been highly volatile, experiencing a wave of unseated incumbents and localized internal conflicts. For the People's Democratic Party (PDP) and opposition parties have vocalized deep resistance, arguing that the 2026 framework favors the financial and structural scale of the ruling party. The PDP remains bogged down by internal friction regarding its National Working Committee and Caretaker Committee structures. This has delayed seamless candidate deployment and left its primary process highly exposed to litigation. In another development, the implementation of the 2026 primaries has been thrown into logistical uncertainty following a major judicial intervention. The Federal High Court ruling in a landmark judgment delivered by Justice M.G. Umar, the court nullified key components of the Independent National Electoral Commission's administrative timetable. The court ruled that INEC cannot shorten or rewrite the statutory windows designated by the Electoral Act. The Commission's authority is confined to monitoring and receiving results, not dictating internal timelines. By invalidating the restrictive, shortened calendar originally set by INEC, the court has effectively widened the pre-election time frame. This likely gives aggrieved politicians who lost under early primary structures a fresh window to exploit party registers and seek tickets elsewhere. For more, over now to our guests on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you so much, Timothy Yusuf, for that background report. Now, joining us for this second discussion or conversation on review of political primaries. Let me first introduce Amsfree Janoku. He's the Executive Director, Grassroots Center for Rights and Civic Orientation. Amsfree, it's good to have you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. A pleasure to be here.
Good. Also joining us here for the discussion is Abubakar Umar Kari. He's the Professor of Political Sociology at University of Abuja. Prof, it's good to have you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, and thank you for having me.
All right.
We have all regulars here in the studio this morning, and also another regular will be joining via Zoom from Iola, Adamawa State, Mukhtar Modibo Halilu. He is Secretary General, Follow the Money International. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Right. So let's kickstart this conversation on the primaries, political primaries, election that we are witnessing, still ongoing. Amsfree, maybe you can just give us your assessment of what you have observed during these primaries. Give us a general assessment of the primaries so far.
All right, thank you so much. For me to begin that whole process of assessment, I would like to theorize a bit because, it's from the theory that we see the ideal that, this is the ideal around what should govern a process like a political primary. And when you look at what we're having, we have to choose between whether Nigeria is a liberal democracy or whether Nigeria is an electoral democracy or a pseudo-democracy. And given some of the, or a lot of the anomalies which we saw with the primaries, in the first place, the very poor organization, the lack of documentation, the lack of fidelity, not just to the internal party processes themselves, but also to the Electoral Act itself, which states clearly in Section 84, 1 and 2, the mode of primaries, and gives a clear roadmap that you'd expect political actors to be able to understand and then implement that in the course of their primaries. And then you also go to the issue of consensus candidacy, which was a very, very naughty issue in these primaries, where we talk about the need to secure the consent of even the aspirants that want to support a consensus candidate. We didn't see that happening in a lot of instances. And so what you came up with was a lot of instances of imposition, which is antithetical to the principles of democracy itself. And we must clearly also condemn some of the behaviors we saw. Many social media videos portray people counting and jumping from 100 to 700. And these are not realities that would inspire confidence in the electoral process itself. And it could also induce a very high level of voter apathy because the people already distrust the characters that are going into the general election itself. So for us, as a Grassroots Center for Rights and Civic Orientation, these are our observations, which we believe that it is still not too late for the political parties to take a second look at what they are doing, especially those that have not actually conducted their primaries. They should be able to borrow a leaf from those who have done things wrongly. For example, I don't understand why political parties that raked in so much money from sale of nomination forms, they got billions. In many instances, we didn't even see them printing ballot papers for these primaries. And so when they come out and declare figures and give data, you ask yourself, what is the basis? What is the objective basis for some of the data they've declared? And this is not good for our democracy. It's not a good advertisement for our democracy. For those of us who believe in Nigeria's manifest destiny and Nigeria's role as a champion of democracy in Africa, this is not a good advertisement, that we should take forward in our electoral process.
Okay, Amsri, thank you so much for your opening statement there. And as always, when we have this kind of conversation, you always come out, bringing out the issues to the forefront, for us to look at. Now let's bring in Professor Kari into this conversation. What does this mean for internal democracy? Do you think that party primaries have become mere formalities, sort of legitimized, pre-selected candidates?
I think the situation is worse than that. What these parties' primaries have portrayed, first and foremost, they turn out to be a veritable source of irritation and annoyance. And they threw up so many issues that are quite concerning. Internal party democracy has always been one of the major challenges bedeviling the very existence of the existing political parties. I associate myself with most of the ideas and the sentiment of Mr. Ajineku because they are at the root of internal party democracy. We have always wondered whether we actually have democracy without democrats. The political class, as demonstrated by the ongoing primaries, have really shown that they do not pay much regard to even the basic principles of democracy: choice, rule of law, fidelity to constitutional provisions, they demonstrated so much desperation, zero-sum politics, and so on and so forth. And the greatest proportion of the blame should be placed at the doorstep of governors, unfortunately, particularly in the APC. The two modes of primaries, the governors spectacularly mishandled them. First, the consensus. What has gone as consensus has actually been nothing but imposition. That aspirants have been cajoled, intimidated, threatened, and even coerced. Some of them, if one maybe want to cite instances like in Niger, in Katsina, and other places, were actually arrested because they refused to submit to the idea of withdrawing. And that is not democracy. So, and at the end of the day, meetings were called by governors, like in Gombe State, where selected aspirants were invited to the meetings. Some did not attend, and then a so-called consensus arrangement was read out. However, the worst part of it was the so-called direct primaries. Whoever hears of elections without a voters register, the people that are supposed to go and vote are the registered members of the political parties. There was no instances, I've not seen any, where the list of members were displayed in any of the so-called voting centers. There was no accreditation, absolutely. And everybody, party member, mercenaries and so on, were evidently mobilized to come and be asked to form a queue and vote. And then the ridiculous part of it, as he pointed out, was the mode of counting. And that's not even the end of the matter.
We saw some videos jumping from 1,000 to 1,500
yes.
and all that.
As a matter of fact, the reality is that even the presidential primaries, which to me was much better, because actually there were queues there in so many places. But in the previous primaries, in so many places, no voting took place. But even at the presidential primaries, some people have questioned the final tally. They said they were aware that the documented total number of registered members of the APC, for instance, was just about 6 million. The president was said to have scored over 10 million. You see, in Oyo State, one of the candidates, Abuja, the former minister of power, complained that the total number of registered voters in the state was about 500,000.